Islam's expansion relied on swords, censorship, and fear. Muslims are told that Muhammad was the most honorable man who ever lived, but Islam's own sources paint a very different picture. Muslims defend Muhammad's marriage to Aisha, claiming it was normal for the time. But even in his own era, marrying and consummating a relationship with a 9-year-old child was disturbing. Sahih Bukhari, 5133. The Prophet married Aisha when she was 6 years old and consummated the marriage when she was 9.
And it's going to cause more anger among Muslims around the world.
There's plenty of anger right now. How can you have more?
You don't think it'll exacerbate the problem?
David, I mean, I know you're a sophisticated guy. The world is a mess. The world is as angry as it gets. Well, you think this is going to cause a little more anger? The world is an angry place. All of this has happened. We went into Iraq. We shouldn't have gone into Iraq. We shouldn't have gotten out the way we got out. The world is a total mess. The world is a mess, David.
Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Exodus 2:14. I'm here with my dad again, and today we're going to watch a video from the channel Artefactum. And the title of the video was Spread by the Sword, Dead by the Internet. This is a classic quote. You could even call it a meme. A lot of people in the Islamic community are aware of it. A lot of Christians in the community are aware of it. It's a truth, it's a harsh reality that the moment Islam entered the internet and became an online thing, a lot of people start exposing the religion for what it truly is and beholds. And we're going to watch a clip of 10 minutes that's going to talk about that truth and reality about living by the sword and dying by it.
Yeah, hello again. Yeah, it's been a while, but maybe you heard or you didn't hear it. We had a lot of bad weather in Spain with floods and very heavy rain. So that's why I was not able to make this video last week. But everything's cleared up now, everything's cleaned up, and so we're back. Let's go.
Islam expanded through war, conquest, and forced submission. Those who resisted faced the sword. Dissent was crushed, history rewritten, and questioning the faith meant death. For centuries, Islam maintained its power by controlling the narrative. But then, something happened. Something the early caliphs never saw coming. The internet shattered Islam's monopoly on information. Suddenly, anyone could access history, analyze the Quran, and expose contradictions that were once hidden. The truth, suppressed for centuries, is now available to everyone with a smartphone. And now, Islam faces a crisis it cannot fight with swords or threats. This is the story of how Islam spread by force, and how in the age of the internet, it is beginning to fall apart. From its very beginnings, Islam was not spread through peaceful preaching alone. It was enforced through conquest, taxation, and suppression. Muhammad himself was not just a religious leader, but a military commander. After fleeing to Medina, he launched raids, waged war against opposing tribes, and used force to establish his rule. Within a century of his death, Islamic armies had conquered vast territories stretching from North Africa to Persia. These weren't voluntary conversions. Nations were taken by the sword, and their people were given 3 options: convert, pay the jizya tax, or die. The rapid expansion of the early caliphates, Umayyad, Abbasid, and Ottoman, was fueled by military dominance. Islam's survival depended on political and military power, not on the strength of its theological arguments. Unlike Christianity, which spread through evangelism and martyrdom, Islam advanced by overpowering civilizations and then controlling them. One of the key tools of this control was the jizya, a heavy tax imposed on non-Muslims. Those who refused to convert were forced to pay this tax in humiliating conditions, often in exchange for protection that could be revoked at any time. Many converted simply to escape oppression, Others were enslaved, exiled, or executed. The so-called Golden Age of Islam wasn't built on voluntary faith, but on submission, often under duress. But military conquest alone wasn't enough. Islam also had to control the narrative. To ensure its dominance, it used blasphemy laws, apostasy punishments, and historical revisionism to silence dissent. Questioning Muhammad or the Quran was met with execution or exile. Any competing ideologies, whether Christian, Jewish, Zoroastrian, or Hindu, were suppressed, their scriptures destroyed or rewritten through an Islamic lens. Islamic rulers actively rewrote history to portray Islam as tolerant and peaceful. Islamic scholars crafted hadiths that justified their rule, promoted conquest as divine duty, and removed any unflattering details about Muhammad's life. Early sources were carefully selected and censored to ensure Islam's image remained untouchable. This is why most of what we know about Muhammad comes from Islamic texts written over 200 years after his death by scholars who had every reason to glorify him. For centuries, this system worked. People had no access to competing ideas, no way to fact-check Islamic claims, and no option but to submit. The only history they knew was the one written by their rulers. Islam's expansion relied on swords, censorship, and fear. Muslims are told that Muhammad was the most honorable man who ever lived, but Islam's own sources paint a very different picture. Muslims defend Muhammad's marriage to Aisha, claiming it was normal for the time. But even in his own era, marrying and consummating a relationship with a 9-year-old child was disturbing. Sahih Bukhari, 5133. The Prophet married Aisha when she was 6 years old and consummated the marriage when she was 9. Sahih Muslim, 3481. Aisha said, "The Messenger of Allah married me when I was 6 years old and consummated the marriage when I was 9. The fact that this is recorded in Islam's most authentic sources means Muslims can't deny it. Instead, they try to justify it by saying it was normal at the time. But in reality, many other men of that era waited until puberty before consummating marriage. What kind of prophet claims to be the moral standard of humanity and then sleeps with a 9-year-old girl? Muhammad allowed the rape of female captives. Islamic scholars admit that sex with captured women was allowed. The Quran itself commands this. Quran 4 verse 24, "And forbidden to you are married women, except those your right hands possess." This means Muslim men were permitted to have sex with female captives, even if they were already married. The Hadith confirm this was practiced. Sahih Muslim 3371. "We took female captives and we desired them, but we also wanted ransom. So we asked the Prophet about coitus interruptus. He said, 'Do it if you like, but what is decreed will happen.' This shows that the companions of Muhammad took women as sex slaves after raids and battles. Instead of condemning it, Muhammad approved. Would a real prophet allow his followers to rape women? Islam teaches that Muhammad was merciful, but history shows that he couldn't tolerate criticism. He had those who mocked or questioned him murdered. Ka'b bin al-Ashraf, a poet who mocked Muhammad. Muhammad ordered his followers to assassinate him. Ibn Ishaq, 551. Asma bint Marwan, a woman who wrote poetry criticizing Muhammad. Muhammad's followers killed her in her sleep. Ibn Ishaq, 819. Muhammad's response to criticism wasn't debate or forgiveness, it was murder. Muslims often claim that Islam honors women, but the Quran permits wife-beating. Quran 4:34. "As for those women on whose part you fear disobedience, admonish them, forsake them in bed, and strike them." Muhammad himself set the example. Sahih Muslim 2127. Aisha said, "The messenger of Allah struck me on the chest, which caused me pain. Why would God send a prophet who physically abuses his wife?" Muslims claim that the Quran is perfect and unchanged, but the text is full of contradictions. Who was the first Muslim? Quran 6:14. Muhammad is the first Muslim. Quran 7:143. Moses is the first Muslim. Both can't be true. If the Quran is flawless, why does it contradict itself? Will Christians go to heaven? Quran 2:62. Righteous Jews and Christians will enter paradise. Quran 3:85. Only Islam is accepted by Allah. Which one is true? Do we have free will? Quran 81:27-28. Humans have the choice to follow God. Quran 7:178. Allah chooses who will be guided and who will be deceived. Again, these are direct contradictions. If the Quran is divine, why does it contain basic logical errors? Muslims claim the Quran contains scientific miracles. In reality, it is full of scientific errors. Semen comes from the backbone. Quran 86:6-7. Man is created from a fluid that is emitted from between the backbone and the ribs. This is completely wrong. Semen is produced in the testes, not the backbone. The sun sets in a muddy spring. Quran 18:86. Until when he reached the setting of the sun, he found it setting in a muddy spring. The sun does not set in a muddy spring. This is an ancient myth, not a miracle. These are not scientific miracles. They are scientific mistakes. For the first time in history, ordinary Muslims could access real history, authentic Islamic sources, and critical analysis of the Quran and Hadith. The things Islamic scholars kept hidden, Muhammad's violent conquests, contradictions in the Quran, scientific errors, are now available to anyone with a smartphone. This is why Islam is falling apart. It was never based on truth. It was based on control. The moment people are free to ask questions, read historical sources, and think critically, Islam cannot survive. This is exactly what we're seeing today. Apostasy rates are skyrocketing in Muslim-majority countries. In Iran, over 50% of the population has left Islam. In Saudi Arabia, underground ex-Muslim communities are growing. In the West, former Muslims are publicly exposing Islam's flaws, and their voices are getting louder. Islam was built by the sword, but it is dying by the internet. Islam is in crisis. Its leaders are desperate to silence critics, ban books, and restrict internet access. But it's too late. Once a person sees the truth, they can never unsee it.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts? Were there a lot of things that you recognized or remembered that was shared in the video?
Well, yes. One of the major things that came up was my great grandfather once said, no matter how fast the lie runs, the truth will catch up with it. And this is what's happening with Islam. A second thing that came up was, of course, the Quran is full of contradictions because it is written by just humans. It is not written by divine intervention. It's not like the Bible. The Bible also is written by different people over different time zones, yet they all fit together like a perfect puzzle. That is only possible if there's a divine intervention. And also, but that is something I think most people will agree with, any religion that promotes violence, killing, raping, beating, it can never be a religion of the true God, because God loves us humans, and he wants us to love love our neighbors like we love ourselves. So a quote from the Bible. So if you compare the two, well, it's very obvious. It's also something I look at is that in the whole world, Christianity is fought against, is mocked, is lied about, is people are murdered. I wrote an article 2 days ago. Hundreds of Christians in Libya are being murdered by Islam. So, but Islam is never mocked. Islam is never ridiculed or never attacked before, because people, not because people were didn't want to do it, but just because of true fear, pure fear. So what has that to do with religion? Religion means us to be free of thinking, free of speech. So why would be the fact that people are so afraid to talk bad about Muslims is but about pure fear. They fear for their lives if they talk about it. We had a streamer who has stopped streaming because of fear for his family. He was an ex-Muslim. He got so much death threats for his life and for his family's life because he converted from Islam to Christianity and now was promoting it on internet. If you are the true religion, if you are the true following of God, you don't have to use fear and terror and lies to convert people. It's that simple. It's that simple. And one of the great phrases this video showed was the man said, "If once you see it, you cannot unsee it," and that is the truth. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It's with everything. It's with the lies of the governments in this age. Once you see them for what they are, you can never follow them again because you know they're liars. You know they work for Satan, and that's with everything. That's why I never got the jab. And there's not only was there an inner voice shouting to me, but I didn't trust the science and the government anymore because I knew they were liars. I knew they lied before, so why wouldn't they lie now? Gaining trust is very hard. You have to prove it daily and again and again. So what the world is doing now is just spreading lies all over and trying to make people believe them by telling even more lies and even use terror, even use domination. You have to believe us or we will do this and we will do that. I mean, that's in a nutshell what Islam is as well. It's perfectly mentioned in this video. Yeah. So he was a robber. He was a murderer, a rapist. He was a pedophile, and that's what the Quran teaches us. It's their own book that teaches us this. Because if the Quran wasn't online now, like it used to be before internet, we Christians couldn't know anything about the Quran because we didn't read it. But now we can read it as well. So now we can look up and we can search things. And it's the Quran itself that teaches us what kind of person Muhammad was. So, and then the last thing I want to say about this is the anger that some Muslims have, and the frustration and the despair. I can relate to that. I can understand that. I feel for them because you have to think. If you whole your life, if you're 40 or 50 years old and the whole life you had was a lie, was telling when Muhammad was the greatest, Muhammad did, Muhammad that, and then suddenly you are confronted by other people with facts, with really checkable facts that everything they told you was a lie. You have to try to experience their feeling at that moment, you know, the despair, the frustration, the anger, also the anger. And some people will get angry at themselves for being so stupid and believing these lies, and some people will convert and say, I want to change this. This is terrible what happened to me. But some people will do the opposite, will even become more fanatic because they cannot cope with the truth. They cannot cope that all their lives they were following a liar. So they just want to keep these teaching as the truth because they cannot cope with the truth. And then you get these fanatics that blow themselves up, kill women and children. That's then the result of that frustration and anger. So I think more and more that the Quran is being exposed as a book full of lies, and Muhammad as a prophet of Satan. I think more and more we will see terrible things happen because there are I don't know how much million Muslims there are, but in every country in the whole world, except for a few countries on the Russian side, they are full of Muslims. So it's only a minority that can terrorize a whole society. You know, it only takes one to terrorize a million. So that's what we're going to see in the next few years, I think. It's also starting to happen, but you don't see it on mainstream media. I heard that in Sweden, for example, every day, you have to listen, every day, 38 terror acts were stopped. Every day. Only in that country. If we see Brussels now, they're shooting with Kalashnikovs on each other. I mean, Muslims against Muslims. We see in France, people get stabbed by some lunatic, a Muslim. Now we can say it, but a lot of governments, like in England, for example, you cannot say that. You have to say it's a mental disturbed person, or it's a lone killer. It's always they keep protecting these people. So again, yeah, then you can start thinking, why are they protecting this kind of behavior? Maybe they're also in bed with Satan, you know. Maybe he's using them to suppress the people for showing what's really going on. But yeah, that's something that's going to escalate even more in the years to come. So the only thing we can do as Christians is be very observant, be very careful, observant, and try to reason with people that's still reasonable. You know, Islam peoples, Muslims, try to save them from internal domination, because they may not see us as that, but even with all the things they say about Christians or other beliefs, we still love them as humans, and we still want to save them from the hell they're going to. So yeah, that's a little bit in a nutshell my thought about this video. It's a good video.
So what I wanna add to it, what I want to talk about as well, is that I personally, we mentioned it before, I believe that the Islamic ideology, the religion, you know, that controls people, is being exploited and is being used by all these different Western nations for a specific purpose. And we can only, of course, guess and speculate what that might be. But it's eventually gonna fully show itself at a certain point in time when that time is there. It's kind of the same thing, you know, with Satan's agenda. You know, you will see it as it is when the time is right. You just gotta keep your eyes open and be awake, not asleep. People that sleep they're gonna be the first to fall, sadly enough. But the people that are awake, they should take action as soon as possible, thinking about people they care about, their loved ones, you know, do something to preserve and to protect and keep faith. And these things are very important to remember. But I do believe strongly it's a tool, an instrument, and those people are being used as well because they're trapped in that cult, in that mindset. That's why one of the biggest difference between what Christ taught to people and what Islam stands for, and that's something that immediately at the beginning of time when I started studying those scriptures, made me already have a lot of questions. First of all, if you talk about what Christ brought, it wasn't religion, but it was faith in him, in faith in his mission, and faith what he does for the people. You know, like it's something that's spiritual, unseen, invisible, and it's something like a gift you accept. And it's a eternal promise. You know, it's having, as long as you have that faith, nothing can phase you, nothing can harm you. You know, it's on a different level than just saying I believe in a certain doctrine, I follow certain rules and regulations within a religious system, ideology, whether it's forced or not. And Islam always likes to talk about their religion as being the best of the best, superior, ultimate, you know, the completion. It's about religion. It's not about faith. And if their religion would be true and 100%, you know, straight from the source, from God, then why, if you follow the Sharia law from A to Z, from the beginning to the end, that you do everything you should do as a abiding Muslim, why is there so much negativity, violence, hatred, suffering amongst these communities and these countries? Because if you do exactly what God wants you to do, then normally instead of a curse or bad stuff, you should be receiving blessings, or you should be receiving guidance. And as far as I can see, on a certain level, I see the opposite. I see that those people that were 100% Muslims, they need to go to places that are non-Muslims, and they need their help and their services to survive or to get rid of that struggle. What doesn't make any sense, because I thought that if you lean into the direction of that religion 100%, you should get the complete favor of God. But then it's not the case, because the reality proves different. So that's also questionable if it's about that religion only, if that's the way, if that's the key, if that's your one-way ticket to paradise, you know, because that's the only thing they care about. And the other thing is that, you know, there is one big quote. I mean, I've got a couple of Bible passages. One of my favorite, and a lot of people know that one, is, you know, those who live by the sword die by the sword. And it's basically what, you know, Christ actually said himself. He said in Matthew 26 to 52, then said Jesus unto him, put up again the sword, thy sword, into his place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. This was a reference to to Peter dealing with that situation that as he saw as his master being harmed by Roman soldiers, and he wanted to interfere and protect and serve, and he wanted to draw the sword, and he did. And it's actually invoking more violence, is using violence to combat violence. But what is the end result? More bloodshed. And Christ wanted to warn him from that action, to refrain from doing that or participating, because it's a never-ending cycle. And that's also a very core essential teaching that comes to Christ and what he brought people, than what you see, for example, in the Islamic religion and the ideology. It's the opposite. It's like, you don't have to shed blood if it's unnecessary. Try to avoid it, but if it has to be done, no problem, because it's in the name of Allah and the final messenger, and it's for a greater cause. It's completely the opposite. It's like they have this step-by-step program. Don't do it at first, but if you have to do it, you do it. You know, then you get the permission.
It's the same with lying. You can lie and deceive any non-Muslim to gain to gain your goal. It's the same. How can you promote lying and deceiving people? It's really opposite of what Christ says, you know. It's and so that's why the Quran is full of contradictions, because they say they believe in the same God as Christians, and they believe in Jesus as a prophet, not as a savior, but as a prophet. But on the other hand, they contradict him constantly. Constantly. In all their teaching, they contradict what he as a prophet said. So
yeah, but you know, like one of these things that they also like to use as a way to nullify everything if it comes to religious competition, they would say, for example, that Muhammad said, don't compare the prophets, we're all brothers in paradise, you know, don't compare us, we're all on the same level, we all came with the same mission and the same message. But then the thing is that if you read into it, if you really study it, then you will see that there is this antichrist mentality mindset. You know, you can feel it, you can sense it. You don't have to be a scholar. You can tell that there is a antichrist mindset. And a lot of people will, from the Christian community, will understand when I say they do reject Christ. They accept the Son of Man role, you know, the guy that was the flesh, the physical format, the temporary housing for the Christ, but they reject the essential part about Christ. That's why it's an antichrist and a rejection of Christ. And also they don't want one of the things that I also think is interesting is that they see Muhammad as being the second Messiah. You know, so we've witnessed that several times now, right? That they put him in this messianic role, and that's also very disturbing to me, because then you're gonna say, okay, we have this Messiah that came for the children of Israel, you know, for the Jews and the Christians. He fulfilled his role, you know, may he rest in peace. But then at the same time, now we have a new Messiah, the second Messiah, and that's Muhammad, and this is the guy we have to follow forevermore. You know, that's it. But that doesn't make any sense if even on a spiritual level, on a level of teaching, there's way out of, like, Christ is way out of his league. You know, it doesn't make sense. It's like if you have to choose between an elderly person and a child in the sense of age and experience and wisdom and insight, then of course people will listen to the elderly person more likely than to the child, right? That's how nature works. That's also amongst animals too. You know, it's the older animal, yeah, that has the more experience that takes the lead, because they provide what a tribe or what a pack needs to be able to survive. You know, so the younger generation is reliant on the older. It's not the other way around, but. But with Christ, it's the same thing. Like, Christ's message and Christ's teachings are on a way higher level than that of Muhammad. So it's weird and strange to see that you would eventually, if you do study, that you would still stick with Muhammad as being the ultimate example for mankind to live by. That's the ultimate role model. That makes completely no sense.
Also, the fact that Jesus Christ was resurrected. Jesus Christ, and there are many eyewitnesses for that. Muhammad is dead. He's dead and he's buried. I mean, how can you compare the two? There's nothing to compare. Muhammad is just a human with a power monger, somebody who was influenced by Satan to gain power and to conquer the world and spread this lie. The more people follow him, the more they condemn to hell, you know, and that's the ultimate goal of Satan. With everything, with everything that has nothing to do with Christianity, you can find if you look. You have to look. You have to do something yourself. Of course, you don't have to just believe everything and everyone, but you have to look up yourself. But it's with everything. It's with greed. People who love money, they do terrible things to get that money. People who are love porn, they love sex, they abuse women, they abuse children, they cheat on their partners. And then there's religion. This religion who wants to conquer the world. Their words, we want to conquer the world. And so if you look at things and you start studying things, you cannot deny that Islam is not a religion of peace. Islam is not the religion. Islam is a sort of politics leaning towards fascism, because everything they say you have to follow, and if you don't follow, you get killed, tortured, or whatever. So that's sort of fascism. They also think themselves as Übermensch. They think themselves as better than non-believers. So that's fascism. And I'm happy. The internet has very many bad things, but internet has one very nice thing about it. Is that it can connect the world, and it's like in the video the guy says. Now people can see it with their own eyes. Now they can see certain chapters from the Quran. They can look it up for themselves after they've seen a video, and they can make a conclusion.
Yeah.
The lie is being shown to the whole world, and that's the power of Christ.
Yeah.
That's the power of Christ.
Yeah.
That is exposing evil without shedding one tear of blood. And that's the power of Christ. They don't need, like, a Christian doesn't need to conquer the world. A Christian doesn't need to terrorize people so they would become Christian. No, we do it by the power of God. And God works in very mysterious ways, and the internet is one of them. There are bad things, but this is a very powerful weapon, internet, for the Christianity. That's why it's so opposed in the whole world right now, because the liars and the cheaters and the warmongers, they feel it. They feel they're losing power, you know. So
yeah, I've got two Bible quotes that actually confirm that statement you made that I want to share with the people. The first one is Luke 8:17. It says, "For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light." And then adding to it is John 14:6. Jesus answered them, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." So putting emphasis is I am the truth, and going back to the previous one, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. So that's basically what is happening and what the video talked about. And we're using biblical passages to put emphasis on those two lines. Like, the internet is exposing Islam, its doctrine, its religion, for what it truly is. And the more people start doing more insight, the more people that come out of it and want to share their story, the faster it's crumbling. And that's what the video was all about, the AI video was all about. But the Bible already talked about that way before Islam even existed as a religion.
Yep.
And what I want to share too is I've got here two comments from a video I also want to discuss at some point with my dad. The first one is from a Portuguese guy. Mm-hmm. His name is P1000H. That's his handle. He says, "My ancestors, after fighting for 300 years for the reconquest of Portugal, must be turning over in their coffins due to the stupidity of the political class. It was exactly because of what was seen in the video that they were expelled from the Iberian Peninsula in 1500. For Portugal, the reconquest was so important that it is on the national flag. Watch the video on YouTube that explains the symbolism of the Portuguese flag." So this is a reference to a video that talks about what is being taught in the mosques and the Islamic schools concerning this worldwide lusting for worldly domination and control over every nation, because that's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate thing they want to achieve in this existence, in this material world. And this was a Portuguese guy, talking about that, about their past dealing with Islam as a religion, and being upset with the current day politicians by letting them again have free play, just like do whatever they want, without having it's basically just let them do what they want and just believe everything's going to work out eventually. And then I've got a Russian guy answering as well. His name is Timo Fejazhduk. "As a Russian, I can confirm the same is regarding to the immigrants from Central Asia. While Arabs and Pakistanis are destroying the West, USA, UK, France, etc., Uzbeks and Tajiks are preparing the same for Russia. It's such a pity that we're divided by political nonsense ongoing between the West and Russia in front of the same enemy. We must feel solidarity as Christian nations." And you see, so it's a worldwide phenomenon, and it's clear that Islam, these countries that through history, their cultures and their beliefs got stripped away and replaced with this Islamic system, that these systems are being used to destroy or dismantle countries that are still in the Judeo-Christian values. Or at least for a minimum have that pass with them, even if they're more atheists, let's say. But the point what I'm trying to make is they're using people that were born in that system as a tool to dismantle this country so that they can interject whatever they want to do in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
So they're using those people. They're using those people that are born into it. They're these equally victims as the ones they're destroying. So it's a loss on both sides. Nobody is winning at the end of the day if it just goes on.
No, and that's why, you know, it's satanic. Satan doesn't want a winner. Satan wants everybody to lose. So that's a perfect example. It is, yeah. Besides, if we go back in history, from the day Islam was born, it was a conqueror's religion. It tried to invade Europe 3 times. And now they're doing it thanks to our spineless politics. The guys the guys who are elected to protect us, to see that we have a good life, that we can live in peace with each other. They open the floodgates to a religion that is full of hate against us. And I once had a Jewish woman say, because there was a Muslim female that contradicted her talk and said, yeah, but there are a lot of moderate Muslims, there are a lot of Muslims that want to live in peace and that want to, and she said, it's not it's only the few that make the laws. It's not the majority that is important. It's these few, and these are the warmongers. These are the imams. These are the ones that rile up the people to go to war against Christianity, against Judaism, against everything. And she has a point. There only have to be a few that have leading positions to influence, have so much influence on even the moderate Muslim, that they can make them do things they would normally never do. And that's what Islam is all about. You see it the perfect example is England. The big major cities in England, all of them, the major cities in England have a Muslim mayor. How is that possible? How can you predict that if it would be possible that a Christian would be a mayor of a city in the Muslim world? Never. We couldn't even get into their mosques. So if you see that the major big cities, I think 6 or 7 big cities in England are now under Muslim law. They're also the country that has the most Sharia law in the whole Western world. So how is that not conquering? And the politicians, the British politicians that are now in place, they embrace this. They say it's good for them. It's good for the country. It's good for. They still think that this is going to be a peaceful transition. No. Once the real power is gained, they will impose their Muslim laws. They will impose. They will ask what they did for hundreds of years. You can pay the tax, you can get beheaded, or you can flee. One of these 3 options. That's it. And I think because England is so far gone, I think that the first countries we will going to see these prosecutions will be in England. Or there must be a radical change, but the people are so opposed by not only the politics but also the religions. I saw a video of King Charles having a feast, a Muslim feast in his Christian house with all these Christian leaders that have been playing Arabic songs and prayers, and then I think, how far can you go? I mean, as a leader of a country, because in England, it's the royal family in England is not like the royal family, like say in Belgium. They don't have anything to say. They're just for the show. But in England, the royal family has power. He has a final say in so many things. So he's got the power. So for him to forget Easter, but makes a big festival in this Christian cathedral for Muslims, for the Ishtar or whatever it was. I don't know which festivity it was. That's horrible. But that is selling out your people. That's selling out your own people for Satan, for his goal. So, well, but we have one promise Jesus made, and they will all be condemned. They will not be able to to get away. They will be condemned. They will be punished for their deeds they did to humanity. And no plea will save them. No plea will save them, because they did things that are unforgettable and unforgivable. So, yeah, that's my comfort. That's what the comfort I have. Because if I wouldn't have that comfort, I would be hateful and maybe I would search revenge as well. But because I know God will make this revenge for us, I'm with peace with that. I'm in peace with that. So when I suggest most of the people who have that burning feeling inside them of anger, of wrath and hate, because so much bad things are being done to Christians or to other people, even non-believers. Just believe this, that the reckoning will come. They will pay the price for what they did here. And I can assure you, if we believe the Bible, it says the punishment will not be a small slap on the wrist. It will be a harsh punishment. They will endure the suffering they made on people. They will endure it for the rest of their existence. And if you know that your soul is eternal, if you know your soul, which people say, oh, you cannot live forever. No, maybe your body cannot, but your soul can, because it's an energy. So if your soul is condemned forever, I would think about being a bad person in this life. I mean, and even if it wasn't true, even if you say, oh, I don't believe in that, why wouldn't you be a good person? Why would you be a spiteful, hateful, and revengeful person? Why? What will it bring you? It's like Jesus said, the sword, who handles the sword will die by the sword. If something bad happened to somebody in your family and you are so angered that you are going to search for revenge, and your whole life is being built around this revenge, one, your life is passing by for good things, and two, once you get your revenge, you will be punished, or you will get an extra revenge on you then. So it's a vicious circle. It doesn't stop. The only way to stop this is by saying, no, I will not comply anymore. It's done. And that's with everything. Everything this world offers you. You just say, no, it's done. I had enough. Stop it. I don't want to be part of it anymore. And it doesn't mean you have to be a hermit somewhere on an island. No, it just means that the things you know that are wrong, just condemn them and say no. And it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or a Catholic or a Protestant. It doesn't matter. As a human being, if you don't want to believe in something, if you don't want to believe in God, okay, but just be a human being, be a sensible human being, and say, no, I had enough. I had enough of this bloodshed and this anger and this hate to other people. Stop it. I don't play along anymore, because the ones that are encouraging it are the governments. Same with the war with Russia now. It's these governments, they want war. They want a new third world war, because they know their power is fading. They know the people are getting more and more angry with them, because they, of course, they lied about everything for 50, 60 years now. So people are getting fed of it, and that's why they want a war. Because then afterwards, when everything is destroyed, they can come back as the saviors, you know, and then they can start all over again. It's been in history for years, always like that. But they stay the same. They don't suffer of the war, remember? All these royals and all these big elites, they flee to a safe haven, because they have havens everywhere around the world, and they will be safe there, eat caviar and shrimps and have cocktails, while we here are in hunger and suffering and having bombs thrown at us. And afterwards they come back and say, we are the saviors. No, they're evil, vile human beings. They're really evil and vile human beings. So that's just what I'm rambling. Yeah, I'm getting excited about it, because I am so perplexed that still lots of people think they will be saved by politics. They will be saved by other humans. It's so incredible dumb. We had 3,000 years of humanity, and never ever in the whole history humans have been saved by another human. You know, we have for a short while maybe, but never for eternity. There's only one that can do that. That's God. That's our Creator. He can see that we are in peace forever, and He promises it will come. But we have to endure the first. We have to endure this. The war against evil. That's something sad, but it has to come before we get eternal peace. Understandable also, because if you never had hardship, you cannot appreciate luxury. You know, you have to, if you've never seen terror, if you've never seen how gruesome evil can be, you can never understand how good it is to live in peace. And that's what's happening now with the young people. Young people were born in peace. They lived their whole lives in peace, in everything in abundance, everything in everything they like, they want, they got. So they are easily persuaded now to go to war, because they don't know what it is. They don't understand what it is. I was born in peace, but I had the luck that my great-grandfather and my grandfather, they were fighting in this war, the First World War and the Second World War, and they told me what they saw, and they visualized it to me. Every day, my great-great-grandfather put me aside and said, I need to tell you this, because I need you to never go to war again. And so I was lucky about that. And I tried to bring this also to my children. I brought you to France, to where the Normandy landing was, and how terrible this all was. Thousands of people were slaughtered like sheep, because I wanted to bring the sense of war is never, there's never a winner in war, never. So but it's also prophesied, there will be wars, and there will be hunger and sickness, and in high proportions, not like before, and that's what we are seeing systematically going up and up and up.
Yeah, I've got those two Bible passages that actually explains it a bit further. What you just talked about, it kind of is a straight reference to what you talked about, but biblical. Mm-hmm. First one is Matthew 24:8. It says, "Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to the persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. But there is a glitter of hope." That's in Matthew 10:28. "Don't be afraid of those who will kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Instead, fear the one who can destroy the body, both the body and the soul in hell.
Yeah, that's something I really planted into my brain. That is, the soul is eternal, body is temporary, and people, a lot of people still think, well, this body, that's it. Afterwards, it's gone, it's done, and they act like it. You know, they take. I want to have as much as possible in this life because afterwards it's done. That's what they were taught. That's what they believe, and all these people that really know. I mean, the real leaders of this world. You have to look. Why do they all want to become very, very old? Why are they always looking for a way to live forever? Because they know, because they made a pact with somebody, and they know when their life ends, is going to be cashed in. Their contract will be shown, and that's what you signed, and now you're mine, and now you can go to my place. And that's why Elon Musk is trying to make a computer that can store your whole memory, your whole life, your whole experience, and then when your body dies, they can put that in another body. I mean, think about it. That's how desperate they are to stay alive, because they know once their soul leaves their body, it goes to a place they don't want to be. They never want to be, but they didn't believe it at first. They thought their life here was going to be forever, and they were going to have money, fame, fun forever. And then you see, like me, I'm in my 60s. 2/3 of my life are gone already. You know, I can die tomorrow of old age. Most men don't last till 75. So maybe in 10 years I'm not here anymore. But I can live with that, because I know afterwards there's something new. My soul goes somewhere and it will be stored, and it will come back once Christ is here. It will come back, and I will be judged, and we will see what happens to me. But that's why I'm not afraid to die. I don't want to die, but I'm not afraid to die. I mean, and that's our strength. That's why a lot of these Christian, every apostle, if you think about it, every apostle, they murdered them, but they were not afraid, because they knew they would become. They had a seat in heaven. They knew they would be next to their Jesus again, their God. So, if you have that feeling that you will get it doesn't end here, and your soul will be going to another plane where you can live in peace till the earth is clean. You don't have to fear death, you know. You don't have to look for it. You don't have to want it. But if somebody threatens you to kill you because you don't want to sell your soul, well, then it's hard. But then you just, kill me, but you will not get my soul. That's what Jesus wants. That's what was in the Bible. You know, they can kill the body, they can kill the shell, but they cannot kill the soul. And that's why it's so important that you start giving yourself up to Jesus Christ as your Savior, because if you don't, He's the only way. He's the only way out. And if you if you don't believe that, if you just think, well, my life is it, then it's gone, well, you're in for a big surprise, I'm sure. I'm very positive. And I just hope that, well, you didn't do bad things in life, that you get a second chance to redeem. And that's it. But that's the thing between soul and body, and that's what Jesus is trying to say. They can kill your body, they can torture you, they can do whatever they like, but they cannot kill your soul. Your soul doesn't belong to them, and that's what angers Satan as much, because he wants your soul, because he knows your soul is eternal. You know, He knows if he can win your soul, if he can get you to his side, you're condemned like him, because he's condemned. He's condemned. He will be in hell forever after this period, and he wants to take as many souls as possible. Huh? That's that's his the way he wants to go in a blazing fire of hate and yeah.
Yeah, I've got before we ended, I've got a few movie references that I remember from 2014. One, I'm not sure which one. I thought it was a Marvel movie or it has something to do with Captain America. I'm not sure, but there was a movie that I remember watching, and there is like this scene that a guy goes into a basement and there is this this computer where human consciousness is stored into. And it was kind of a villain that they thought the villain died, but then apparently his consciousness, his mind, was stored into that computer, and then they discovered that he still lived on in that way, in that manner, and then still did all these evil things. So I don't remember the movie, but I can give other references, and it might be in one of those. One of them is called Transcendence, and that's a movie from 2014, and the other one is called Ex Machina. And these are all about, you know, storing human consciousness in computers, in tech, and it's kind of the same thing that my dad was talking about. That they're trying to create this to be able to live on in this dimension, in this world, in this realm, and provide people that don't believe or don't have faith or don't have Christ that's a way that they can not just vanish in thin air or just be a spark in the universe, because people live on that fear. Actually, that's the thing. It's like a fear-driven thing that they can play off, they can utilize in their own advantage. And that's what you get when you strip away the essential parts of humans. You know, it's like the Christ aspect. It's, for example, sterilizing people, and then, you know, bringing people in that they don't do that or don't believe in. And then it's also orchestrated and also scripted that it's just crazy. And the same thing goes for these movie references, that Hollywood is well known for always creating stuff so you get already used to the notion, the idea, the image, and then once that time comes, you just accept it. You're just so willing to accept it. And one of the things that is very dangerous is for people to be in a state of full submission, and weak people, weak-minded people with no soul, spirit, people that don't feel anything, they're not empathic, basically sociopaths or psychopaths, because that's what you create. If you don't feel, if you don't have any connections, you don't even know what it is to be a human, you don't know any of these things, or what you know, the true love is, then what are you then? Then you're basically nothing more than a beast that roams the earth, you know, even below that, to be very honest. And that's exactly in the direction that we're going to, if all these evils and all these things continue manifesting and taking hold of our existence. And it's so sad to see that 2,000, 3,000 years ago, that the very specific person, deity Christ, came to expose them, to shed light on them, you know, and then they had to get rid of him because they were afraid, because they're like, oh no, you know, because then it's over, but over forever if it would have happened then, you know. And during this time, they have the little margin, the little gap. They think that the short-lived pleasure is going to last forever, but that's also Satan lying and deceiving you, is promising you something that he knows that will not last. But it's tricking people in believing that that's the thing you should be going for in this world, while that he knows his time is limited. And
well,
that's how you...
Bible also states that no matter how rich, poor, or influential you are, you cannot hide. You will not be able to hide in the mountains or underground or under the sea. Your soul will be condemned. That's it. So even if they succeed in making this thing, that a computer can store your livelihood, and then they can put it into another brain, well, it will be condemned when the time is ripe. When Jesus comes, it will be condemned, because he is the creator, you know. God is he made us, so he can practically, he knows everything about us. every individual. He can be with every individual because he's eternal, and that's something people sort of don't understand. But eternal is that you can be anywhere, any place, any time, because there is no time limit for you. It's very abstract, but it is like that, you know.
But if you think about it, isn't that interesting? That they took away, you know, Christ out of, let's say, public schools and stuff from the teachings, you know, so you don't know anything about Bible, Gospel, Testament, Christ, then you're afraid because you don't believe in anything, or you're agnostic, or atheist or agnostic, and you don't know what's going to happen to you. So there is this fear of the unknown, right? And then they provide you with a solution. Yeah, you can live forever if you know.
You have to trust humanity again.
Them, you know, the sciences, you know, the false prophets or scientists. Yeah. And then you don't have to be afraid anymore, because then you can live forever if you just do what we say,
but you have to pay a price.
Yeah.
Nothing is for free.
Is actually just a substitution to whatever was promised before. So it's like a fake, you know, like you know what I say, you can buy some, like you can buy something that was made to last, like back in the days, or you can buy something from China that's going to break down. And basically the same thing. They're replacing something that looks similar, but in reality is fake. It's worthless. It has no value.
It's a poor copy. It's a poor copy.
But that's also how they trained a lot of people. If you look at it now, and if you don't have anything you believe in, you don't know what's going to happen to you. You rely on these institutes. Then you're just going to do whatever they want. And that's exactly what they want. And that's where you know, Satan rules and dominates and has control.
That's why I changed my life totally. And I don't trust any government anymore. I don't trust any leading powers anymore. I don't oppose them. I'm not a rebellious person like, and I'm going to fight the system. No, if there are laws, I will follow the laws as long as they're okay for my religion. I will not harm people, like I say, or I will. But I will stop before a red light, and I will not steal, and I will not. These laws I will follow. But I will not follow evil laws. I will not follow things governments tell me to do that I know is contradictory to the Bible. So like I say, go to war, right? Put on a soldier's uniform and go kill other people you don't even know, people you never knew. Go kill them, because I said so. No, I'm not. If the youth now, because they want war with Russia, you know, they really want it. They're pushing it so far. France, Germany, England, they're planning to again have army recruitment as a must. You know that you have to be recruited at a certain age. So if the young people now just say no, we're not doing it. What are they going to do? Kill all these young men? Then are they going to all put them in jail? They cannot. They can't do it. So if all the young people now, please listen to me. If they want you to go to war, just say no. I will not kill another human being. Even if you say it is my enemy, I don't know him. I don't know that person. So how can it be an enemy? He never did something wrong to me. So how can I see him as an enemy? So I will not kill any other human being. And then it stops. It stops. They can try with terror, and they can try to take away some rights you have on the earth, for a short time. I know a lot of people that went to jail in the 70s and 80s because they didn't want to go into the army, because you had to go into the army in Belgium. For a long time, from your 18 till you're 21 or something, 2 years. But I know a lot of people that said, no, I don't want to bear arms. I'm not going into to the army, and they had to 2 years of jail for that. But after these 2 years, it's gone, you know. And they didn't go into the meat grinder. They didn't have to go kill other people. So their soul is pure. While other young guys, their soul is contaminated just because the government asked you to do it. So that's why I don't trust any power leading persons anymore. And the richer they are, the more corrupt they are. because we used to believe that, oh, but he's a very rich guy, so he must be good, you know, he must be good. He's a philanthropist. No. Now my eyes are open. They are the most evil on earth. These billionaires, because they didn't become a billionaire by doing good, you know. They became a billionaire by exploiting people, exploiting governments, exploiting whatever. Because you can never have that kind of money and not share it with anybody and say you're a good person. If it's been proved, if like Bezos, no, if he would give 1/3 of his richdom, 1/3, so he still has 2/3 of his richdom, he can abolish hunger in all Africa. You know how many thousands of people he can save? Well, they don't do it because they love their money, they love their power, you know. They have more money they can ever will be able to spend in 50, 60 generations. Why? Why do you need that? Why? That's because you're evil. That's because you're evil. You're an egoist. You want it all for yourself. So don't come to me with, oh yeah, but these are philanthropists because they give to charities. Yeah, why do they give to charities? Because then they can recuperate the money by double through taxes. That's why they do it. They don't give. They don't give anything. They always want something in return. So
like the final thoughts then.
Yeah.
Before we wrap it up. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with when Christ was talking about, you know, that the temple would be destroyed and then it would be rebuilt within 3 days. They told that he would be at the head of a revolution, you know, against the Romans, the Roman occupation, against the Pharisees and the corrupt system back then. And Judas was basically his right hand in that sense, if he would have done it, and was very disappointed. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know, but he was also referred to being part of the Sikarim, you know, like a Sikari, and then also Hasashin, like where the term assassin comes from. And they wanted to, by force, overthrow these corrupt, evil rulers by bloodshed. And Christ said that's not what he came for. That's not what he came to do. And then there was this dispute where he was very disappointed in him as being a messianic figure, and thus also that part plays a role into him selling him out eventually to Romans, and henceforth, of course, the crucifixion that followed. But the thing, what I wanted to ask is that, just because this is topic related, that do you believe, like in times of need, because we still have to think about human nature, whether you have faith or you don't, but just human nature in general, that if just like a dog is cornered and sees no way out and shows its teeth and wants to launch and attack, because it doesn't see, there is no alternative, there is no option. Do you think in these times of need for Christian nations and people that are, you know, non-violent and passive and believe that they wouldn't be pressured by doing it anyways, not because out of their own will, but because of social pressure? And I'm not talking about the inscription or being drafted. I'm just talking about to defend their country, to be quote unquote patriots or nationalists, and then, you know, bear arms or participate in any type of physical, you know, defense or offense or whatever, you know, just local things, community things. You know, you can. Do you think that by going over to that would be unavoidable eventually, or you know, because history always seems to repeat itself, and there was always this incline for people, even if they believed, to see that as an option, as a way out, as an alternative. And a lot of people will say, yeah, you can use the Old Testament as an excuse then, if you want to go by the Bible, if you want to say that violence is okay, again, only if you want to defend something.
Well, firstly, I think because they did a survey about it in Europe, how many young men would still want to fight for their country, and these figures were so low that it is ridiculous. I think for Belgium it was 20%. 20%, so only 2 in 10 people want to fight for their country. So I don't think that will be a persuasion anymore. It used to be, but it's not anymore. I think, and that's something I wrestle with, that is if my family, if you, my other son, my wife, if we would be cornered in a room and I would know they would harm you, it would be very, very, very hard for me not to respond. Yeah, it would be very hard. It would be terror for me. I think then the animalistic human side would come and yeah, I really don't know. I have to be in that situation, of course, but I really don't know if I would be passive. I don't know. I hope so, because that's what God's teaching is. But you're also human, you know. And if you see something, I have it with let's say an animal. I'm not related to animals, so if I see somebody mistreating their animal, I have to respond, you know. I have to shout at them, "Stop this, you idiot!" And or with other children that not even nor mine. If I see parents mistreating their children, I get angry inside, you know. So I think that's my major obstacle, and that's something I have to look into maybe. What will I do? Because maybe someday the time will come that something happens like that, you know. It's also because, maybe if you have children, one in your life you have children, you will feel it. As a father, you are embedded. This is embedded in your cells, in your genes. You are responsible, you know. You are responsible for the safety of your children and of your wife or of your family. And if something dangerous is coming, you are the one that has to protect them. It's in the genes. It's how we are made, actually. So, yeah, that's very something maybe we can talk about in another time. And I really would like to know what some of our followers think about that. Would they do it? Would they protect and kill somebody to protect their family, or and how do they see it? It's something to think about.
It's just just to bring that up concerning the topic, that it's in times of need and stress, but it's mainly only to defend and protect those who you care for and care about and you cherish. That's the question, keeping in mind your faith as well in Christ. What would you do basically if you know that everything can be taken away from you, stripped away from you, or what do you do then, keeping that in mind? And I brought it up because, like many places, many Judeo-Christian nations in the past, through these things that happened back then as well, very similar to now, they had to make a decision not only as an individual, not only as a family, but also as a people. Also thinking about their beliefs and their faith in Christ. And then, what do? Do you lay on your back and expose your belly and you surrender and you just let the bad person or the evil person or the wicked system just do whatever they want? Or do you stand your ground and you go out, quote unquote, with a fight, but not to hurt the other person, but just you want to protect the people?
That's what I had experience with that, to protect myself as well. I will always try to stop the fight without having real casualties, I even if it's by threatening, but not really wanted to do it, but by threatening, you can stop it. I think that is okay. I mean, if I can convince somebody that if he attacks me, I will kill him, and he believes me, then the goal is done. Right? I never would kill him, but if he believes it, that's enough to stop the aggression. So that's something I do believe in. I don't believe you have to lay down like a sheep and let them do with you what they want to do, because no, I cannot believe that. But I still believe in passive aggression, you know, telling people to back off or else, and then if that works, it's okay. You didn't hurt anybody, you didn't do physical harm to anybody, so yeah. And I think in lots of ways in history that these things happened to people. They got away with being killed just by using their words and their body language. I know different stories about women that were going to be raped, that talked the rapist out of it. They didn't use aggressive. They just used their wits, and and I think with aggression you can do the same. You know, in the job I used to have, it was necessary to de-escalate violence just by talking to people, and I was quite good at it. When there was a conflict, I was the first one they sent into, because I was able to talk people out of the conflict without shedding one drop of blood, just by talking to them, by persuading them.
If you think about that, isn't that like more Christ-like?
I think so. Yeah, I think so, because that's what Christ did as well. You know, he talked to people, he talked the evil out of people, he showed them there's another way. Yeah, probably you're right. Yeah, I never looked at it that way, but yeah, probably you're right. Yeah, and I'm glad I'm a kind of person who is able to do these things.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and only other people that might not be as for or haven't thought about that either can benefit from watching this podcast episode of us talk about that, because I think these things are also essential. You know, it's something we should talk about more often and be open about and very specific. It shouldn't be taboo. It shouldn't be, perceived as a negative thing, because they're very sensitive topics. It's very, very important, for a lot of people to understand certain things, and at least, try to look at it from a more Christ-like perspective. Even if you're flawed, even if you struggle, even if not every person is the same in dealing with certain situations where, verbal and physical violence might be a part of it. The best thing is de-escalation, but at the same time, it's remembering, what Christ would do in this scenario, and can I do it as well? Do I have what it takes to do the same thing?
If you're verbally strong and if you know body language, you know how to use your body as a signing language, you can do a lot. You can persuade a lot of people, and that's something I did. Actually, I did a lot of times. If I now thinking about it, so there's always a timeline. It starts with words or with a small action, and it then starts to escalate. It gets worse and worse, and the worse people are beginning to feel endangered, the more people feel their life is the more aggressive they become. And if you can show them that there is no danger at this moment, because we're still in the first period of escalation, so we still can de-escalate this. And as soon as you can convince people, even the most angry person, you can convince him to stop. It will be over if you stop. Then the other person will stop as well. Look at it. We will finish this. And if you're good at words and then you're good in body language, you can use that as a tool to de-escalate anger, violence, and killing. But on the other hand, if you remember Jesus Christ, when he went to the church, the temple, and he threw out all the Pharisees and their market stands and everything. He was angry as well. He could do that. He could. Sometimes it becomes too much, and then he wasn't really violent towards the people, but he showed his anger, and that sometimes it depends on the situation, but sometimes that can be a tool as well to convince people. well, look, you've gone too far. This is stop. This has to stop. And that's what Jesus did in the temple then, by throwing over these money stands and these market stands and things that were placed in his temple. Yeah, it's difficult. It's very difficult. But I think people in these days are more verbal than people in the old days. We are smarter. We know a lot more. We have more ability to read and write and see these things. So use it. Use that wit. Use that knowledgement to in a good way. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, then we're gonna wrap it up, and I hope people are gonna enjoy it and gonna learn something out of it, and do some research on their own, and do some introspection. Think about their own actions from the past, or in any situation they might be now, and reflect on it, and find the right type of guidance with Christ.
Yeah. One thing I just want to say before you end. Yeah, I think it's a good thing if you want to do something to reflect on how would Jesus do it? How did he solve that problem? And just give it a try. Try it yourself. Who knows? Maybe he's watching and maybe he's helping you de-escalate violence or de-escalate something bad. So that's that was a good reference. I hope people enjoy this video. I'm sorry if I was gone last week, but floods and terrible rains and storms, didn't really give me the chance to. The internet was failing as well, so it wouldn't be possible to do this podcast. So, but we're back again, and I'm happy to be here again, and happy to talk to my son and to all of you. And let's wait for the next topic he brings on.